Welcome, everybody. I'm Shali Bubanek, President and founder of Premier HR Solutions and a proud sponsor of the Ethics in Business Alliance program. And we are excited to have you join us this morning for our webinar, 7 Steps to Building an Ethical Workplace. A couple of items I wanted to mention is that we will be recording the webinar, and we will be sending out next week an email with the recording and a copy of the PowerPoint, as well as a training certificate. Some of our HR managers have been asking if we have received CE credit approval, prior approval for it, and we have not, but you can still turn in your training certificate and the information for credit. So we will get started today. I'd like to also introduce one of our co-hosts. We have Todd Dion, and Todd is the owner of Momentum Business and Leadership Coaching, and he has over 15 years of management, coaching, and training experience in organization culture, personnel development, and values alignment. He's also a certified trainer and coach of the John Maxwell team, and he is the creator and host of Character Matters podcast. So excited about that. And we actually interviewed with Todd, Joel and I did last week, and we'll be sending you also a copy of that podcast. So if you're interested in following his podcast, some wonderful material. Todd has also recently joined the Ethics in Business Alliance as one of our ethics ambassadors, and he also conducts training for our Ethics in Business Alliance. So we are super excited. Welcome, Todd.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Charlie. It's great to be here. I can't wait to hear from everyone, and I know we're going to have a great discussion today. So thanks for allowing me to be a part. It's a real honor and privilege to be here.
Great. We also have Joe Kaufman, the Executive Director of Recognize Good. The Ethics in Business Alliance program is one of the programs of ethics of Recognize Good. And Joe's going to tell us a little bit about Recognize Good. Joe?
Sure. So thanks for everybody for taking some time to focus on this today. Recognize Good was founded in 2009 on the basis of sharing great examples of goodness, and that's still what we're doing today. Our business-facing program, the Ethics in Business Award, we adopted in 2012, and really we're basically highlighting the most ethical organizations and leaders in Central Texas through that program. We got asked over the years, if I'm not award worthy in my organization, how do I get there? And that's where this Ethics in Business Alliance sprung up, was to kind of create a bridge between, good intentions and award worthy, ethical policies and procedures. I think the intentionality is the thing that we've really learned is the key to achieving what our award-winning organizations have achieved those heights. So the Alliance is going to continue to be a little, Jiminy Cricket on your shoulder, just reminding you, don't forget to think about ethics. Don't forget to think about respect and fairness and honesty and equity in your organization, because the biggest mistake we make is just not remembering to think about it most of the time. So we're hoping to be that reminder system through this program. So excited to jump into the discussion.
And Joe, why don't you tell us a little bit, Delia, let's go to the next slide on the Ethics in Business Award. We have that coming up, right? And I think we also have some nominees in the audience participating today. So tell us a little bit about the award.
Sure. So the the award works like this. We get nominations from the community, word of mouth, some email, texts, any number of ways. We basically get a suggestion. But unlike most other awards in our business community, this is not an application award. This is something that has to be proven. So our nominees are filtered and vetted, excuse me, by a group of student examiners that we work with in concert with Concordia University. They run a class every spring semester specifically designed to go vet candidates for this Ethics in Business Award. And so they're interviewing HR managers, marketing managers, CEOs, um, and on down, on down the totem pole in an organizational structure, trying to get the best sense they can of how much each organization walks the walk. And so that interview process is mostly complete, I believe, for this year. We're selecting finalists in some categories yesterday and some categories tomorrow, which was fun to be a part of that debate. And then we'll get that announcement of finalists out probably next week. So stay tuned for that. And then we'll announce the winners after they're selected by a panel of Leadership Austin alumni, another awesome partnership that we've really elevated the program through. Once that selection is made, we'll announce the winners at a virtual gala, I guess you could say, lunchtime event on June the 3rd. And we'll make sure everybody that's here on this webinar gets an invite to that as well. It's free to attend and really an uplifting program I think everybody would enjoy.
Okay. All right. So just to recap on the Ethics in Business Alliance, it is a network of businesses who believe doing good is good for business. And we've got an alliance today of many of you online. And we also provide monthly content to your inbox that provides integrity top of mind content, including examples of ethical leadership and tools and resources. And we have training events and networking events, hopefully in-person networking events in the future when things open up to inspire ethical business practices. All right, so let's take a look at what we're going to be discussing today. First and foremost, we're going to be discussing why is ethics good for business? And we will also review 7 easy steps to kickstart your ethics programs. Some of you may already have existing programs. Others may be looking at starting this brand new for your organization. We are also going to provide an opportunity for you to network with other business leaders, HR leaders, and sharing examples and sharing ideas. And we're going to also talk about how to get involved in Ethics in Business Alliance if you're interested in continuing the discussion. All right. So the first thing I want to talk about is, why is ethics good for business? In a perfect world, everyone would make the right decisions and managers and employees would always conduct themselves in a business ethical manner. But that's not always the case. And obviously, most of you think that ethics is important, or you wouldn't have registered and be in attendance of our event today. So for that reason, I wanted to take a poll on from you to find out what your thoughts are on why you think ethics is good for business. So this is a list of reasons that I pulled together, and I'd like for you to identify maybe your top 3. Because when you read through this list, you're going to figure out that, hey, I probably can't just pick one of these. So let's go ahead and start the poll. And I'll just kind of read through some of these as you're making your selection. One is that it impacts profitability. Also, it's important for maintaining a good company reputation. So those of you in marketing and in sales, you know how important that is. Those of you in recruiting and HR, it attracts and retains employees, and also it attracts and retains customers. And some people just think it's good for business because it's just the right thing to do. It can also gain trust from your stakeholders. It's also a way to incorporate integrity in your core values, and it can improve employee productivity. So let's take a few minutes, and Delia, you let us know when you think we're ready to share the results.
Will do. Looks like everyone is voted, so I'm going to go ahead and end the polling and then share the results.
All right. Wow. So this is really good. It looks like our top contenders were incorporates integrity in your core values and attracts and retain employees. Yes, absolutely. Also important, we can see maintaining good company reputation and attracting, retaining customers as well. and it's just the right thing to do, and gaining trust from stakeholders improves employee productivity. So I really think that we can probably say that all of these are good reasons to incorporate ethics into your workplace. We do know that a strong ethical company culture does build an esteemed company reputation, and it keeps customers and it increases your profit. So why wouldn't you want to start an ethics program? I'd like to share some other interesting facts. So as I develop the training and materials, I come across some studies, some surveys, and I wanted to share these 3 main bullet points with you. Every year, almost 1/2 of the US employees report witnessing unethical conduct. So take a minute and think about how many employees are in your organization right now. Let's say there's 100 employees in your organization. Based on this fact, you could have up to half of them have witnessed sometime unethical conduct, maybe not at your organization, but maybe at another one. Also, we know that more than half of the largest 10 corporate bankruptcies resulted in unethical business practices. If you think back to the 1980s, what comes to mind? Enron, WorldCom, Lehman Brothers, all went bankrupt because of unethical business practices. And this one is very interesting. The cost to economy is $1.228 trillion. So when you're trying to build support for your ethics program with your management team, these numbers are pretty astounding. And these facts are pretty persuasive into why we should spend the time and resources to develop ethics with our workforce. So our presentation today is on a publication that I wrote for 7 steps to kickstart your ethics program. We're going to cover each step. If you sign up for the Ethics in Business Alliance, you'll get, as part of your free membership, you'll get the entire publication with additional information in there that can help you in developing your program. So let's move into step 1. And everybody can do this. This doesn't take a lot of effort, and it doesn't cost anything. But the first thing you can do is join an ethics movement by getting connected. That's what we're trying to do here with the Ethics in Business Alliance, is to build an ethics movement in the greater Austin area. And I was even asked to speak in College Station recently because they're interested in developing ethics programs in their community. So the first thing you can do is join and follow groups on social media. We have a Recognized Good social media. Joel and his team post a lot of information about events, practices, sharing information. I mentioned Todd having his podcast, Character Matters. You can follow his podcast and other podcasts. You can attend virtual and local events like our webinar today. And we are building a library of resources for you that we will be sending out in our monthly newsletter that gives you information. So if you'd like to join other groups, you'll have that information. And lastly, join the Ethics in Business Alliance. So as a business owner, I understood the importance of ethics, but I really couldn't find much information out there. Recognized Good had a great annual event, but after that, we really didn't have much going on. So Joel and I and our ethics ambassadors put our heads together, and we started having some networking events throughout the community. Leadership Austin even let us use their facility at one point, and we invited people. And then it grew to providing ethics accelerator training. And then Joel and I sat down one day and we said, what about all the people that don't win the Ethics in Business Award? They want to implement ethics to a higher level, but they may not necessarily want to apply for the award, and only 3 businesses a year win the award. So we developed the Certified Ethics Membership Program as well, and I'll talk a little bit about that. But this all evolved from, as a business owner, understanding the importance of ethics to my business as well as my clients. And so that's why we put together the program. Bobby Jenkins is one of our board members for Recognized Good, and he agreed to do this video. It's only a minute video, but I'd like to share it with you. Talia?
I am Bobby Jenkins, owner of ABC Home and Commercial Services, and I'd like to invite you to join the ethics movement in the greater Austin area by becoming a member of the Ethics in Business Alliance. As a business owner, I understand the importance of incorporating ethics in your business practices and the impact having a reputation for doing the right thing can have on the success of your business and your people. Becoming a member of the Ethics in Business Alliance is totally free and helps you keep ethics in business at the top of your mind through regular tips and discussion about best practices. You'll also stay connected to a network of organizations committed to promoting integrity, respect, and fairness in their business. So don't wait. Join me and so many others in Greater Austin by becoming a part of the Ethics in Business Alliance. Click on the link in this video to get started. For more information, visit recognizegood.org.
All right, thank you, Delia. So we've provided a network for you, but there may be other networks out there that you may want to consider joining. All right, let's move on to step 2. Step 2
Hold on,
is
let me get my screen back up.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I'm moving a
Hold
little
on.
fast.
It's okay. I don't know what happened to it.
That's all right. I'm just so happy I have a co-pilot.
There you go.
All right. All right. So step 2 is to secure management commitment. It's not easy starting a new program. I know I've gone in and done ethics accelerator training in some of the organizations that are here today, like JP Goodwin, for example, and ensuring that you've got management support so that they will commit their time and allow the resources is important. So whether you're the CEO and needing commitment from your managers, or whether you're a manager and need commitment from your CEO, it's important in order to establish a successful program. So one way to secure management commitment is to meet with your managers one-on-one and to present a business case. We gave you a few facts here, and our publication also includes some other examples that you can use. But make sure that that they understand what the benefits of creating an ethics program can have on the company, can have on their department and the workforce. And make sure that you don't leave that meeting that you have with them without asking and gaining commitment from them. So that brings us to our next poll. And that is, do you have management commitment? Some of you may have it. Some of you may not have it yet and need to attain it. And then some of you may be unsure. So Delia, bring up our poll. And let's take a minute to have the audience let us know where you stand in having management commitment for establishing an ethics program or ethics training or a program in your organization. Okay, Delia?
I think everyone has voted. I'm going to go ahead and end the polling and share the results.
All right, wonderful. So we do have the majority of people have. We have a few that have not yet. That's okay. Still plenty of time to do that. And then we have a few that are unsure. So that's pretty typical there. So that's the next, step in thinking about, how to gain support. Because the last thing you want to do is to create a program and then present it, and now you don't have support. All right, step 3 is to create your ethics roadmap. Now, many of you may be asking, what is an ethics roadmap? Well, think of it as, you develop a business plan, right? Or a sales and marketing plan. Well, your ethics roadmap is your ethics plan. It will consist of your values that you want to communicate and incorporate into your ethics program. It will also address leadership development, how you will develop your leaders, develop leadership mindset, and also workplace standards. What are the workplace standards, written or unwritten, that you have in the workplace right now? Some people refer to this as a code of conduct. Other people may have information like this in their employee handbook. It will also include your people component. We'll discuss your people component more in step 4, more in more detail. But really, this is how do you incorporate, like Joel said, how do you make ethics intentional in everything that you do in all of your people components? And then lastly, it will include your action plan. And this is your commitment from your managers and your team of what are the events and the activities that you are going to implement in your plan. Also, I do want to mention, if you have any questions, please enter them either in the Q&A or in the chat. We've got our team monitoring that. We are also going to have an opportunity. Delia, I think you might want to be on mute. I think we've got
Yeah, hold on.
YouTube is playing in the background. Sorry.
Yeah. Let me get it out of it. One moment, please. There it
Good
is.
vibe, though.
All right,
I
there you go.
know.
Got a little bit of music going on back here. Wasn't really, go ahead and close everything
I'm
out. There
Bobby
we go.
Jenkins, owner of
Yeah,
ABC Home
apologize.
There we
Commercial
go.
Services.
We weren't really
I'd like
planning
to
on
invite
that
you to
music,
the ethics movement.
but
Yeah.
okay, there we
All
go.
right. Let me get back to the slides. One moment. Technology.
There we go. Okay, so
Oh, excuse me.
that's
Sorry.
okay.
It's Wednesday, right? Okay.
All
There we go.
right, there we go. All right. So step 4 is incorporating ethical practices in your employment cycle. Okay. And this begins with recruiting. We did have a wonderful webinar a few weeks ago entitled Beyond the Resume, Hiring for Character. So I hope that some of you had an opportunity to attend that webinar. We'll be hosting it again in the upcoming months. But basically, when you're incorporating ethics, you need to begin by thinking, who are we recruiting into our organization? Do they have common values, or do their values align with our values in our organization? And how do we treat our job candidates? I remember taking over HR for a large corporation, and my experience in the recruiting process was not very favorable. So the first thing I wanted to do was change that in my region. And so I instructed all of our recruiters and all of our hiring managers that our goal was to treat every job candidate as a customer. Okay. With integrity, with respect, because they potentially were a customer. We were an insurance company. And the other thing that, I want to caution everybody on is, it's the right thing to do. Trying to find a new job is very stressful, but it's the right thing to do. But also we have social media, and our company reputation can be damaged by one bad interaction with someone that is rude through the recruiting process. So stop and think about, how do you treat job candidates? What are some of the processes that you put in place to ensure that it is a pleasant process for all job candidates? Next, we are talking about onboarding. So what does onboarding have to do with incorporating ethical business practices? Well, first and foremost, you need to transition employees into your organization, not just teach them about their job and their new role in the organization, but also communicate what your core values are, what your workplace standards are, how you treat your customers, how you treat your team members. So the onboarding process is very important. So think about, are you incorporating, for example, ethics training in your new hire training? That would be something to consider. Employee development and employee retention are really important here. What steps are you taking to incorporate these values? Some of the experiences and events you could be hosting would be company events, training initiatives, recognition for stellar customer service, or people that are going above and beyond to help others out. Those are just a few examples. So think about, what type of events and activities are you doing to develop and retain your employees, and incorporating those values in those processes. And lastly, how are employees exiting the organization? Now, I have people ask me, Shawly, why does that even matter? I mean, they're leaving the organization. It matters a lot. Just like it was equally important for people recruiting and entering into our organization, the same as exiting the organization. Think about how are people treated when they tender their resignations. I've seen people that are, management congratulating them that they may be getting a different job or have a different opportunity that's more suited. I've seen managers rudely escort people out of the building and treat them very disrespectful. Other employees are watching this. Other employees are commenting and posting about this. But again, we just get back to it's just the right thing to do to treat people with respect. But think about that. How do we? I wrote a company newsletter article for that same company that I work for. And the founder of the insurance company wanted me to interview employees that had left the company but then had returned. And the whole purpose of that was, what the message was as I interviewed them was that they really like this company, but for whatever reason, they left for a different opportunity, maybe a family situation, maybe they moved, maybe it was money, but for other reasons, for all the right reasons, they came back because the company had a good workplace culture. And how do you think they were treated when they left the organization? Probably very respectfully, or they would have never even thought about coming back. So those are some reasons about thinking about why it's important to incorporate ethics. So this is a great slide if you're in HR or you're in management to take back and just take a mental note. What are you doing in all of these areas to incorporate elements of ethics? All right, number 5, and that is to create an ethics committee. So it's much easier to do things with help of others than on your own. So your ethics committee can be your ethics ambassadors. They are the people that are illustrating, exhibiting, and role modeling your company culture, those values that you want. They're not necessarily all managers. They can even be recent new hires that are great role models. They will also build interest and motivate other employees to be aware and adopt some of the practices. They can provide input and ideas, and most of all, they can share responsibilities in helping you implement some of these events. The next step is developing a code of business conduct. So some of you may already have a code of business conduct, but does it include ethics in it? Does it include your values and align with your values? A code of ethics is very important, or a code of business conduct, because it can clarify your mission, values, and principles, and it can communicate the expectations to your employees. And it's a great guide and reference for employees. That also sends a message that everyone shares the responsibility of ethics. Your ethics committee can help you, or your management team can help you develop a code of ethics if you don't have one already. And the last step is to provide ethics training. Now, ethics training provides awareness to the ethical practices of the business. It can boost employee morale and productivity. There are a lot of different training topics, but I wanted to give you a few that are some of the most popular that we receive requests for. Developing an ethical company culture, effective management practices for building an ethics-based culture, and developing an ethical leadership mindset, and how to incorporate the ethics into your business. And we've mentioned new hire training and developing a roadmap. So these are just some of the topics. Now think about it. Do you have people in your company that can develop and deliver the training? Or do you need to go outside your organization and hire for ethics training. So this is something when you're developing your roadmap that you'll want to consider. I did want to share with you the Ethics Accelerator classes. These are training classes that we can provide through Recognize Good for organizations that would like to become a certified member or bring ethics training to their organization. So let's summarize what we've discussed today before we get into our discussion. We've talked about the importance of ethics in your organization, and I've provided you with 7 steps to kickstart your program. You can do the first step today and get started by getting connected. So Delia, let's show everybody. Let's skip over to the join. There we go. So the Ethics and Business Alliance, as we mentioned, is free. It provides you a list of resources and information to help you develop your ethics program. Delia is going to show you how easy it is to join by going on to recognizegood.org. If you have a second screen, open up the browser now. It takes like 30 seconds to join. Go to recognizegood.org. Once you're there, you'll see a tab that says Join the Alliance, and this is all it takes. You just fill out your information, your email, check the box, and submit, and you're going to get a welcome package, and the first thing you're going to get is the publication, the full publication of the 7 steps to kickstart your ethics program. And then I promise we're not going to bombard your email. If you decide that you want to opt out on the emails, you can, but we want to get you joined to the Ethics Alliance so you have resources. All right. Now, I'm not going to go over this in detail, but I did want to show you that we do have 2 types of memberships. We'll send you additional membership information, but we want everyone to join Ethics and Business Alliance in one way or another. So there is a certified membership process, and there is this will be included in your packet, and you can read upon it. So I want to move on to the most exciting part of the presentation, I think, and that is our networking discussion. We're going to spend a few minutes here. We've got about 10 or 15 minutes left where we can talk about and share ideas. I'm going to turn it over to Todd. He's going to lead our discussion questions. Todd?
All right. Thanks, Shali, for that. Hi, everyone. Todd Dion with Momentum Business and Leadership Coaching. And so during this part of the networking discussion, hope you will contribute and raise your hand. Delia will identify you, call your name, unmute your audio so that you can actually share with us, not just chat. So be prepared. We want to actually hear from you today. So let's start with the first networking discussion question of why is it important to teach ethics and values? So, all right, let's start raising hands. Love to hear from several of you concerning this question.
All right, well, we have Byron. I believe that's how you say it. Go ahead.
Okay.
Mhm.
Should I go ahead?
Yeah, you're on.
Fantastic. Thanks, by the way, this is fantastic. I really think that it's super important to teach ethics and values in business, in particular, because in our Western culture, and particularly in the United States, we tend to have a business mentality and a business culture that focuses a bit too much on performance and profitability as opposed to how we treat people. And, I think the beautiful thing about Recognize Good and about the Ethics and Business Alliance is that it turns the tables on that and says, hey, if you focus on treating people well, then performance and profitability are a natural byproduct.
Byron, thanks for that. Could you share, your company and what you do there, just so everyone knows and can get familiar with you and where you're from?
Yeah, absolutely. So my company is Higher Element, and I do business coaching and leadership coaching. I specifically do EOS or entrepreneurial operating system implementations for my clients.
Okay, great. Thanks for sharing that. All right, who's next? Who else has something to contribute that can benefit the rest of the group who's on today?
All right, we have Justin on, and Justin, I've unmuted you.
Cool, thank you. My name is Justin Mccarty. I am a program director with Leadership Austin. And one of the things we do a lot in some of our programs designed to really build into leaders is we talk about these exact things. I think it's important because in the end, character will always trump your ability to perform. I just feel like one of the unique vantage points I get in my seat in developing these programs is that I get to study a lot of leaders from a lot of different fields and sectors. And I just think the stories of even just the past year, much less the past decade or longer, is you see all these people that were looked to and point to as examples of either, like Byron was saying, profitability or productivity. And in the end, the great falls have always come back to somebody's character lagging behind their ability to produce. And so I just think if we're not teaching this, we are almost in essence crippling people from ultimate success in leadership.
Justin, great word. Thank you for sharing that. I'll share something quickly if I can. Is Shali mentioned that she was looking for, I want to participate in something, but what's out there? And I spent about 6 months really trying to identify what I wanted to focus on with my podcast. And when I began to narrow it down to ethics and character and begin to research what was out there, there was just so few resources for me to even begin to look to build my podcast upon. That I was like, I have to do something on character. This is so needed in our culture at the moment, and wanted to bring, like you're doing, what you guys are doing is bringing character and ethics back into the personal and national awareness. So I think that's extremely helpful. So one more. Do we have anybody else on this question?
We do. We have one more, Cindy.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. This is Cindy Villanueva. I own Knockout Marketing Strategies, which is a Marcom agency. I also own a martial arts studio here in Austin, and I'm an adjunct professor at Concordia University. And at Concordia, I had been teaching business ethics. And I think it's so hugely important because what I found with my students, and these are all predominantly seniors, so students who are ready to leave, get their degrees and go out into the workforce. And what I really found with a lot of these kids is that they have not thought this through, that they have simply accepted, whatever it was mom and dad taught them, or their youth pastor, or whatever it was, which is fine, but they haven't really they haven't inculcated those values. It's just been something that's sort of been taught to them. And so when I've started asking them, critical questions about current events or, potential business experiences, I found that they didn't have a really firm foundation. And so because it was something that they just sort of had tacked onto their lives and hadn't really deeply considered, that makes for shaky ground. And that makes it difficult for them to make ethical decisions as adults. So I think this is absolutely essential. We can't just assume that people know right from wrong,
Right.
and that they'll make the right decisions.
Cindy, thanks so much. That's a powerful observation there for the rest of us to really listen, lean in and pay attention to, because that's the next workforce, right? Okay, next question. Let's move on. And I know we're going to have some great discussion over this next one as well. So what are some of the best practices of an ethical organization? Who's next?
Well, Byron's next again.
Okay, I don't want to dominate, but I think that incorporating ethics into your culture and your business always starts with identifying what your core values are. I mean, I think that's the cornerstone. And, it's not enough to just go through the exercise and come up with these aspirational kind of ideas of what you think, ought to be the case. I think it's an exercise of really identifying those behaviors that you value over and above all others in your organization for everybody to display. And once you do that, then you actually need to incorporate those core values into your HR policies, your hiring policy, your hiring process, your evaluation, your employee evaluation processes and things like that, so that it's not just an exercise to identify a bunch of nice terms and put them on a piece of paper and stick them in a drawer, or put them on a poster up on the wall. It has to be a part of who you are and your DNA as a company.
Good. Thank you, Byron.
You bet.
Who's next? Who would like to make the next contribution?
I think Tammy, I'm going to call on Tammy because I know Tammy Andress is with JP Morgan. I'm sorry, JP Goodwin. And they are a nominee for the Ethics in Business Award. And Tammy, would you share with us some of what you guys are doing?
Hi, absolutely. I'm Tammy Andrus. I'm the Chief HR Officer with Goodwin Company. We're here in Austin. We're all actually throughout Texas. And some of the things that we put into place, of course, we started with our code of ethics, our value and our mission statements. But I think the biggest thing was really getting staff to understand why were we doing this? Why do we exist? And wanting to know, once we determined the why we exist, how were we going to do what we said we were going to do? And through that came up with our values. And one of our values is just that people matter. And I think it's very important to keep that first and foremost in everything that we do. And so we've gone through the Ethics Accelerator training, which was fantastic. We took our senior leadership team through that. We've put a focus on just really getting staff to live our mission and values every day through our monthly one-on-one coachings we have with staff every day, as well as building it out into our job descriptions, that it's everyone's responsibility to live that each and every day. And, in our business as HOA management, it's extremely imperative that we have honesty and that we have business ethics, because we're dealing with other people's money and doing a lot of things that most other businesses do. And I think it's just really important that staff realize, even in the disciplinary process, that your goal is to correct actions. Your goal is really to put the people first and just to do what's right each and every time. And that's kind of one of our well, it is one of our values as well, is that we're going to do what's right each and every time, not just sometimes. And I think it's important that you teach your team about ethics, because inevitably when they're out in the world conducting business, they're going to come across ethical dilemmas. And if you haven't trained them, they might not know the best way to handle those ethical dilemmas. And so it's very important you go out, you train them, you get the ethics built into your organization, because it's going to help your team make the best decisions when they come across those dilemmas as well. I mean, I could just go on, but I think it's really, it's just about doing the right thing and just encouraging people, and it starts from the top down. I'm very thrilled that we have our management buy-in all the way from the top down here. It's been wonderful just to see people embracing doing the right thing internally, externally, and just staying focused on,
Oh, I think we may have lost her.
Yeah. I don't know where you want to be, Todd. Cindy did want to discuss, or did you want to move to the next question? You just let me know, but she's got a raised hand.
You know what? I think this is such an important question. Let's hear what Cindy has to share on this question.
Well, I'll make it brief so we can move on, but I will say I agree that it starts with identifying those core values. I think that for too many of us, we just assume that we're good people and we don't really take the time to formalize what those values are, what really matters to me as an individual, what matters to me in leadership, what matters to me for my business, and then formalizing those things through documents, the way that we hire, the way that we evaluate people, the way that we plan out their development. But I think lastly, and Tammy touched on it, is leading by example. I don't ever want my employees, I had student instructors at my martial arts school who are in high school or in college. I don't want them wondering, is my master instructor going to make the right choice here? Is she going to do the right thing, or is she going to cut corners? From little things like in my marketing agency, I have recently had a gig with a company in Dallas, and it was for 15 hours a week. And so the first couple of weeks, it was hard pressed to keep it down to 15 hours. But like the last couple of weeks, I really didn't need the full 15 hours, and I didn't bill them for the 15 hours, even though the SOW would have allowed me for that, but I didn't work that much time. And it's important for the people who work for me who know that we're honest regardless. It's the right thing to do, and they don't ever have to wonder if I'm going to make the right choice, which then prompts them to make the right choices.
Wow. Thanks, Cindy. That's what we do in private matters, right? Those private internal decisions that we have to make, that where we could get away with something and no one would bat an eye, but then we're being integrous to our own ethical and moral center of personhood. Thank you for sharing that. So let's move on to the next question. And let's see. And then we want you to, of course, raise your hand and get involved with this. What are some ways you are incorporating business ethics? Uh-oh. Delia, did we?
Well, that was forward? Do you want me to move forward? That was the next one. I had moved forward too much, but I can move to the next one.
Oh, so let's do this one. What are the values you look for in an ethical leader? And oh my goodness, we've probably all experienced negative leadership. And then we also have the issue of when we get leadership buy-in, when the leaders are leading at this level, what a powerful transformation that can have on your business. So what do you look for in an ethical leader?
We have Justin who's raised his hand.
Okay, Justin, let's hear from you.
Thank you so much. I think the thing that was just hitting me, I think it was Tammy saying a minute ago, it's certainly a value along the lines of people genuinely matter just because they're people. But the thing that was hitting me about what I look for, both in leaders that I learn from, as well as leaders that I followed, as well as what I try to hold myself to, is this idea that I think it was Patrick Lencioni who said, a core value is most evidently displayed in what you're willing to suffer for. So it's kind of one of those things that's hard to get at, but really watching people who are willing to suffer in some way because people matter. I think it's really easy to agree. I think most people would agree that things like people matter, but it's looking for those moments, and they're not always on the surface. Sometimes it takes a crisis, or sometimes it takes, an interesting circumstance. But especially when I think about a hiring process or something like that, I want to hear from a leader where they have been willing to, with skin in the game, lose personally for the sake of somebody else benefiting, to kind of, in the spirit of recognized good, where somebody's lifting up the good of another person, even to their own detriment. So that's a little bit more complicated of an answer, but I think that stands out in my mind as what I would look for in an ethical leader.
Thanks, Justin. And I think most everyone can see the chat. It's blowing up with integrity, honesty, accountability, walk the talk. So modeling is how important modeling is, not just in It's in the transmission of those values, right? The reproduction of those values, so important. Transparency, value, forgiveness. How, you know, we live, work, and play together. We spend a lot of time together in the workplace. Forgiveness is absolutely a value we need to have personally and within the workforce too. So anyone else want to make a contribution to this? Delia, do we have any hands raised? If not, we'll move to the next question.
Yes, we do. We have Byron.
All right, Byron, let's hear from you.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I find is probably, one of the most helpful things as a leader to provide to anybody that is willing to follow you is to understand that you have to create safety in failure. You have to allow for failure. You have to let them know it's not just in your own head. You have to explicitly let them know that it's okay to fail. And I want you to fail at times, because if you're not failing at all, that means you're not pushing. You're not striving. And it's okay to fail. Let's circle up afterwards and figure out what went wrong, what went right, and what we learned out of it, and make us better. And I think that many leaders don't understand the value of explicitly making their people understand that failure is okay. It's not this terrible thing, and it's not your job on the line if you make a mistake or something doesn't work that you wanted to try or something like that. Because what you do is you stifle all creativity if people are afraid, if they don't feel like they're safe.
Thanks, Byron. Very insightful for that, on that topic. All right, we're going to move on to the next, and I think this is the final question. So what are some ways you're incorporating business ethics into your organization? So maybe you're not saying anything, verbally on audio, but put it in the chat as well. Let us see what's going on. But if we have anyone that want to raise their hand and give us some indicators on what you're doing, that would be, I think, great for everyone to hear. We have someone in the chat saying training and development, employee recognition. Okay. I had a question, and I'll just mention this until Delia lets me know that there's a hand raised, based on, I think, what Tammy was mentioning on whether or not one of the values is when we often reward and recognize people for productivity and meeting goals. And I wonder if there's anyone that has it in their organization where they're recognizing people for doing something, going over and beyond that ethical, treating someone over and beyond, and just because of their ethical treatment of that people. Is there anyone that has that as part of their business at the moment?
Still don't have any raised hands.
Okay, so
I'm some chats.
Yeah,
chat.
I'm gonna read the chat then. So I got some great ones coming in. Hiring for character, code of ethics. Tammy says code of ethics, and training values, job descriptions, monthly coachings to incorporate that. Fantastic. And incorporating the performance. Joe contributed by saying make it part of the performance reviews. Reward them. Excellent observation there. So look, everyone, great feedback on this. Thanks for allowing me to facilitate this discussion, Shali. I'm going to turn it back over to you, and I hope this networking time has been helpful for everyone that's been listening, and for everyone that participated. Thank you so much. We appreciate that.
All right, great. All right, everyone. Well, we will be sending you a copy of the chat as well, so that you can see what the comments were that other people shared. And thank you, Todd, Joel, and Delia for being part of our webinar today. And I want to thank you all for taking an hour out of your day. I hope the information has been helpful for you. Here is my contact information with recognizegood.org. I am the program director of the Ethics in Business Alliance program, and this is our Recognize Good website. Please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions, and we'll be following up with you. Thank you again, everyone, and have a wonderful day.
Thanks, everyone.
Awesome stuff. Thanks.